Hello, welcome you all for the second class of 10th week of GST course. In this class, we are going to focus on blocked credits and restrictions on claiming input tax credit under different circumstances. Let us begin. Blocked credits are restrictions for claiming input tax credit under different circumstances. Blocked input tax credit is a concept under which claiming of input tax credit is blocked. In other words, for some specified goods and services, input tax credit cannot be claimed even though tax paid at the time of purchasing such goods and services. There are some restrictions on claiming input tax credit in the following circumstances. Circumstances number 1, when the registered dealer using the assets partly for the business purpose and partly for any other purpose. In such a case, input tax credit claim is restricted to the extent of the asset used for the business purpose. In such a case, the central or state government is having the power to prescribe the pattern of claiming input tax credit. For instance, where the assets such as machinery and equipments are partly used for the business and partly for the personal purpose of Mr. A. In such a case, input tax credit can be claimed by Mr. A only to the extent it is used for the business purpose. This can be easily understood as purpose of business assets used and availability of input tax credit claim. If the asset used for business purpose, then input tax credit is available. If the purpose is for personal use, then input tax credit is not available. When the supplier is dealing with supplying partly taxable supplies and partly exempt supplies, in such a case, input tax credit claim is restricted to the extent of the supplies which are taxable and also includes zero rated supplies, but it is not allowed for the portion of exempt supplies. This can be easily understood as type of supply, availability of input tax credit. For taxable supply, input tax credit is available. For exempt supply, input tax credit is not available. For zero rated supply, input tax credit is available. Number 3, in case of banking companies, financial institutions and non-banking financial corporations, the business organizations dealing as banking company or financial institutions including non-banking financial corporations are having the option to claim input tax credit. Such companies can comply with either of the following. Number 1, they can comply with proportional input tax credit provisions, or number 2, they can claim input tax credit every month which is equal to 50% of the eligible input of goods or services or capital goods, and the remaining balance of ITC will lapse. It is noted that the restrictions of claiming 50% of input tax credit provisions are not applicable to the tax paid on supplies made by one registered person with another having same permanent account number. Number 4, input tax credit on motor vehicle. Supply of motor vehicles and conveyances except number 1, if such motor vehicles and conveyances are used for further supply or sell. Number 2, transport of passengers. Number 3, if such motor vehicles and conveyances are used for providing training on driving, flying, navigating, etc. Number 4, the transportation of goods. In case of other supplies on which input tax credit is blocked are number 1, supply of food and beverages, Number 2, outdoor catering supply. Number 3, beauty treatment. Number 4, supply of health services. Number 5, supply of cosmetic and plastic surgery. Number 6, taking membership of a club, health club and fitness center. Number 7, renting a cab, taking life insurance and health insurance except in case of number 1, when the government notifies the services which are obligatory for an employer to provide to his employees under any law for the time being in force. Or number 2, such inward supply of goods or services or both of a particular category is used by a registered person for making an outward taxable supply of the same category of goods or services or both or as part of a taxable composite or mixed supply. 8th one, the travel benefits provided to employees on vacation such as leave or home travel concession. 9th one, works contract services when supplied for construction of an immovable property other than plant and machinery, except where such services becomes an input service for further supply of works contract services. 10th, goods or services are both received by a taxable person for the purpose of construction of an immovable property other than plant or machinery on his own account, including when such goods or services are both are used in the course or furtherance of his business. Here construction includes reconstruction, renovation, additions or alterations or repairs to the extent of capitalization to the said immovable property. 11th one, inward supply of goods or services on which tax has been paid under section 10, that is under composition scheme. 12th, inward supply of goods or services are both from a non-resident taxable person except on goods imported by him. 13th, goods or services are both used for personal consumption. 14th one, goods lost, stolen, destroyed, written off or disposed of by way of gift or free samples. These are the supplies on which input tax credit is blocked. This ends the discussions of the second class of 10th week. In the next class, we are going to focus on illustration on input tax credit mechanism. Thank you.